This is a personal trainer's reaction to Hugh Jackman saying he ate 6,000 calories per day to get back into Wolverine shape for his new Deadpool movie. Welcome to my channel where we talk all things human performance, recovery, and body composition. I'm a personal trainer, and on this channel, I'm going to share health, fitness, and nutrition tips that I've seen work in the trenches so you can take them away and use them to achieve your own goals. If that sounds cool, please like and subscribe to stay up to date with new episodes. Now, first things first, much respect to Hugh Jackman. In the new Deadpool movie that dropped in 2024, he looks amazing for around 55 years old. To even get into that shape, it takes a lot of dedication with food, with training, a lot of consistency, and it is quite a hard feat, regardless of whatever age, to do. But being at 55, I have a lot of respect for what he's done, because I know what it takes to get to those low levels of body fat while trying to retain as much lean mass as possible. I mean, you get brain fog, obviously cravings can come into play, and even just missing out on certain meals for a longer period of time, because I think what he had to go through was there was a bit of the writer protests, which caused a delay in filming. So for him to be consistent for that long term, like I said, much due to respect for what he was doing. Now, the point of this video is to talk about the articles and my thoughts around the clickbait titles that come around. So for example, if you type in Hugh Jackman in any Google search and what he did to get into Wolverine, you'll find titles like Hugh Jackman ate 6,000 calories to get into shape for Wolverine. You'll find articles saying Hugh Jackman ate 8,000 calories per day to get into shape. Now, I'm going to cover my thoughts on, firstly, these titles, because I feel a lot of you that read these titles, you may not have an understanding of that may not be what you saw in the clips, okay, where Hugh Jackman was at his best shape. And then I find that for some of you, you'll go away and take that away, but eating the same amount of calories or thinking you need to eat the same amount of calories to try and get in similar shape. So first things first, 6,000 calories. Do I think that Hugh Jackman ate 6,000 calories to get into shape? Now, if that's what he said he did, we can take that away, and it's not unrealistic by any means. I do think at certain points of his transformation period where he was trying to build as much mass as possible in more of a lean building phase, he did probably eat around 6,000 plus calories around that mark at certain times. Do I think that's what we saw him on when we saw him on the screen? Most likely not. I do think he went through periods of time of eating in a surplus of calories to build lean muscle, and then he had a period of time of cutting down the calories to get into shape, so spending a time in a deficit. Now, the funny thing is, when you look at these articles, they don't mention how little he may have ate. I'm not sure exactly how much of a deficit he went into to get absolutely pilled for being on camera, but I would imagine there was a period of time where he had acute low calories, point in time where he's very low in a deficit of calories to get into shape, okay? But I suppose with the clickbait titles and things like that, they may not want to promote, you know, aggressive dieting and things like that, which I'm not promoting unless it's done in a professional manner, okay? So for anything, I always recommend you get medical advice, you know, if you're looking at your own health and fitness endeavors. But I'm going to shoot the straight facts. There would have been a point in time where he built his calories up, and there would have been a point in time where he cut his calories down. The reason you want to build your calories up in a surplus is to build more lean muscle onto your frame. And he would have done that you know, for a period of time to build as much mass as he can. And then as soon as, you know, he had the time frame for shooting, he would have cut back his calories to get into shape. Eating 6,000 calories a day isn't really unrealistic. From what I've seen with clients, everyone's a little bit different, but I've had clients eating 6,000 calories a day, 8,000 calories a day, even up to 12,000 calories a day. Like one athlete comes to my mind where they were eating 12,000 calories a day, pancakes, gummy bears, chocolate milk, 6 meals a day. They were still waking up at night hungry, and they had a six-pack, okay? So everyone's a little bit different in terms of the amount of calories they consume. That's gonna be dependent on your activity level during the day. All right, what's your movement like? What kind of lifestyle do you have? Is it very active? Is it sedentary? It'll also depend on your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is your movement. Once again, it's going to depend on your own metabolism. Like you'll find a lot of people that can consume a lot of calories You know, they may be fidgeting a lot, burning a lot of calories during the day, opposed to someone who just has a slower metabolism. Everyone's built a little bit different. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. A calorie mark is just a mark. It's important to get more fixated on the results or the KPIs that you're looking for with a building phase or a fat loss phase rather than just the calorie number, okay? So eating 6,000 calories a day isn't unrealistic. I've seen it with clients before. And you know, if you have any kind of bodybuilding kind of prep or anything like that, you can go quite high with calories in your building phases. So that's not unrealistic. Now, my thoughts on what would happen to get Hugh Jackman into screen shape. I would imagine he had a period of time of dieting down after he'd done his building phase. I would imagine there'll be a point in time, especially for getting on camera, he'd have a acute time of being more in a deficit of calories, getting rid of foods that caused bloating around the stomach, maybe water loading to play with the antidiuretic hormone to flush water out and get leaner, or look leaner, manipulating things like your gut volume, manipulating things obviously like body fat, but also you know, water retention. So I would imagine there was periods of time where he would have done a few tricks to manipulate not just body fat levels, guys, but also the you know, water retention, gut volume, all of these things to help look as best as possible on screen. All right. Now they don't go as much detail in the articles of what that may look like, because once again, it may be more aggressive to put out there. But definitely, I think that's at play as well. Now, do I think there was any other forms of supplements that he may have used to get into shape on screen? Steroids, PEDs, peptides? I am not sure. I think he's on record for saying he didn't use anything, and much respect if he didn't and he's true to his word, because in the Hollywood world, who knows? Some saucy actors and maybe even actresses you see on the screen, but it would be hard really, and I understand it, for them to let be known if they're doing it. So if he said he didn't do it and he got into shape, he looks amazing for not even touching any PEDs. I do think that kind of physique is realistic without any enhancements, PEDs. I don't think there's anything unrealistic about it. He doesn't have crazy dense muscle. He looks amazing. There is dense muscle and he is very much in condition. But in terms of how he looked, I think it's very realistic for it to be a natural physique as well. One thing about celebrity diets and also training programs, you'll see a celebrity will look amazing, an actor on the screen or an actress on the screen, and then from there, as the viewer, we ask the question, what did they do to get into shape? And what usually comes out is these kind of training programs or generic training programs they did, a little bit about their diet. But if it was always that great and you could follow it as the viewer and get into the same shape, we'd all be doing it, okay? So one thing about celebrity diets, take it as a grain of salt, because they don't usually, from what I've seen, go into as much detail of what was needed to get that physique you see on the screen, okay? I've done a bit of coaching with my personal training business, and with my team, we help clients get to very, very low body fat levels. We help physique competitors get to very, very low body fat levels to get up to the stage, okay? Similar and even more lower in terms of body fat as what you see actors and actresses on the screen. I know what it takes to build a physique. I know what it takes to get a physique that looks appealing aesthetically on screen, on camera. And you'll be surprised at what needs to go into it from a dedication standpoint, consistency standpoint, and also adjustments with every little detail of training, nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, recovery. So whenever you see these kind of programs that come out or celebrity diets come out, usually I think personally there's a lot more into it that's not being told. So just make sure you're taking that as a grain of information rather than gospel. Another thing to touch on with celebrity transformations is time frames. Now, sometimes you'll hear time frames of, an actor put on 30 pounds of muscle in 6 months, or you'll hear they lost X amount of weight during a time period. Once again, we need more context to actually what they're talking about, okay? Because to put on 30 pounds of muscle, 40 pounds of muscle, and I've even heard crazy numbers in a period of time, is quite, number one, impressive, but also maybe unrealistic in terms of what they're telling us, okay? So when it comes to time frames and managing expectations, there's a few markers that you can use to help manage expectations of your own transformation. For example, 0.5 to 1% loss of body fat, half a centimeter loss around the navel, 0.5 to 1% loss of scale weight per week. These are some measurements I use with my personal training business to track progress. And from there, you can kind of make better decisions each week on what you need to adjust towards your own results. So take in terms of time frames that you see for transformations of these celebrities, take them as a grain of salt, because I do think they fluff it up for clickbait, right? It's to get attention. These articles, they want you to click, they want you to get attention, whether it's right, good attention, whether it's wrong attention, that's what they're for. Now, what kind of training do I think Hugh Jackman did to get into shape? I would assume he's had some form of strength training. He was lifting some weights because he had great muscle density. He may have done a bit of HIIT training, which can be great for oxidizing fats to get into shape and burn more fat, body fat at rest and also while training. But obviously he had great muscle density, 100%. There was some definitely weights lifted to help get his physique, strength training. I'm not sure exactly what his split was, but I do imagine he had some form of strength training, maybe a bit of HIIT training, and then the magic would have been done with the nutrition to really get those body fat levels down so he can look sharp on screen. How was his nutrition set up? I would say in most cases when you're looking for a transformation like this, and I did find some articles where he was saying, you know, he's eating a lot of fish, he was having a lot of potato, chicken burgers, things like this. But as a principle, I would say he really bolstered down in his protein targets, 2 to 3 grams per body weight. I would imagine that he would have had. He would have had possible minimal fats at certain times, maybe in the building phase a little bit more. And then he would have also manipulated his carbohydrate intake to help bring in a deficit or to help build more muscle in a building phase. Okay, so he would have just followed the principles of each phase: a building phase, a lean building phase, a fat loss phase, being that, okay, it need to be in a surplus of food for the building, more carbohydrates, more micro and macronutrients, and also having more calories, obviously, to be in a surplus to actually build. And when he went into the deficit, he would have still held high amount of protein throughout the day, manipulated his carbohydrates, and also possibly had lower intake of fats. Still had fats there, but a lower intake of fats, just to minimize the calories, but also still to promote hormone health while being in the deficit as well. So at the end of the day, guys, just be mindful when you look at these articles. Much respect to Hugh Jackman. I think he's an amazing actor. The movie is fantastic. I recommend go check it out. I actually gave it like 9 out of 10, which was pretty big. Laughed a lot. But at the end of the day, when it comes to celebrity clickbait titles of how they got into shape, just be mindful of what information you're taking in. And just because it may not be as useful for you to take away for your own goals. So there's always a lesson to learn, no matter what it is, but just make sure you can actually use it towards your own health and fitness goals. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for future episodes like this. You can also check out our personal training website, mindperformancehealth.com, for any coaching, whether it's face-to-face or online with your body composition goals. And we also have our human performance supplement range coming out. You can join the waiting list at mpHnutrition.com. I'll put the links in the details below. Go get after it, guys, and have a great day.